don't know why I've told you to hit record yet. So, workplace jam on a Friday, all right?
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it. It's, for anyone that's not like read about it yet, it's essentially this drop-in session, bring your sticky stuff, have almost like that reframe, reset, reflect, head into the weekend as a functioning human being rather than taking all this baggage behind you. That was my idea for the workplace jam. It was like a supportive space, community, also a little bit of, now I'm working like with just you, I just want to speak to other people as well throughout the week, because it's great as it is speaking to you, right? So
I'm taking that as a positive right there.
total positive, yeah. I was like, I need to also speak to, not just clients, and still network without it being this environment where I'm networking in it. So workplace chat, okay? So
It almost feels like you almost wonder why it doesn't exist already, because I've enjoyed the last 2 weeks as well. And I'm like, God, that's just a place just to hear people, listen, vent a little bit, have your opinion, have them have their opinion, just feel a little bit better.
Yeah. And what's been good is, even though we've been there, it's not been us that's dishing out the advice and the tips. It's when like the jammers help each other. I'm like, oh, he's awesome. Like, people connecting, and like last week somebody offered to do like a personality test on another person.
Oh my God, how amazing was that, right? I was I was like, look what you've got. You came to jam today and you've left with this whole, like, you're going to have that personality test, you can have a load of information. That was like a freebie. How amazing was that?
Yeah. And like somebody else had connected as a mentor with somebody. So I'm like, that's literally, so it's this just connecting space. So I had a thought, and I thought, why don't we turn it into a podcast?
Right.
Right. And it's what I'm thinking is, some weeks, like as we jam, it can just be me and you. Some weeks we can invite a guest. And we just take a sticky subject, like in jam, and we just turn it into a podcast. Very casual, not over scripted, on the hoof. Like, what do you think?
Was that on the hoof or on the hoof?
On the hoof. On the hoof.
It's going to be a joy, this, isn't it? I think it's got legs.
Yeah,
I think it's got legs. I think it's probably a great idea. I'm not entirely sure why you've pressed record now, though.
Should we do it now?
Simone, I'm not ready, and I've got no makeup on.
That's the jam, though, isn't it? That's like, let's just do it.
Oh God. Why do I let you convince me to do these things?
Well, if you think about it, right, we've got a pattern here. Maybe it's a toxic pattern, we'll find out in time. But New Year's Eve, right, texting, shall we write a book together? Yeah, let's do it. Right, we signed the document New Year's Eve. A couple of months later, shall we just do a business together? On the call, we then went on to company's house and registered the business. So, like, I think we're either going to find that because we're drivers we get shit done, or we're going to be like, we didn't think that through, we need somebody to slow us down. Well, I guess we'll find out in time, won't we?
I 100% believe it's because we're both drivers. I think it's easy to work together. We make the decisions. I think we'll find it was always meant to be. So with that in mind, fine, let's have a podcast. Let's record it now. But yeah, I don't know whether you've thought about this.
Yeah.
But we need a sticky subject. So if you're going to have your podcast right now, what's your sticky subject?
Do you know what's really playing on my mind recently is the whole human versus machine, because it feels like as the world is kind of going like zigging that way, we're zagging that way. And it's that, like, we're talking about being human and the world is constantly talking about AI. So I think that should be our first sticky subject.
Okay, fine. I completely agree, right? We it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Is it human or is it machines? It's everywhere. And I agree, when everybody's going that way, maybe we need to buck the trend. Certainly with our human-centric workplace, we want to be human, don't we? That's not to say machinery and AI isn't the future and isn't supportive. But you know what? Like verbatim. I mean, if you cannot use it verbatim. It's not there to be the whole answer to everything. So it's such a good topic and it's so current. yeah, I just think it needs a debate. It needs the conversation. So yeah, okay, that's let's
Yeah.
go. Yeah,
Because
go on.
actually, somebody said to me, when I said, going to set up a business, they actually responded with, "Oh, is it technology like AI?" And that was the response. And I said, "Do you even know me? Like, I talk about human. Why would I do AI?" And it was a family member, and we got into this. Well, that's businesses are how they're growing, isn't it? It's technology, it's a platform, it's an app. And I'm going, no, we're about humans. And actually, it's interesting because I think since changing LinkedIn to co-founder, I'm so bored of all these messages that are like, scale your business, turn it into a platform. I'm going, no, we're about people. We're about people. So yes, the world is going that way. We're going that way. Are we behind the times or
Or ahead of the curve.
ahead of the curve? And I'm gonna say boldly, when it's recorded, I think we're ahead, right? Because I think all of this is gonna do a full 360 like
Yeah,
everything always does.
yeah.
We are human beings, right? If the world is going AI bonkers and the world's going to be taken over by AI, surely at some point we're going to sit there and go, oh, what was the point of that? We are human beings. What is our purpose? How do we connect with people? And I'm not saying AI hasn't got a place. I think it totally has got a place, but I do think it's been massively overused at the moment and we're massively over relying on it.
It's all like we're a kid in a sweet shop right now, right?
Yeah.
We're like kids in sweet shop. You can see it, right? You can see every day that goes by. I can see another person adopting AI. I mean, GPT is the perfect example, right? You've gone from quite poorly worded emails, or the usual stuff that we would as humans do, send as an email, to these very structured emails that have come out of GPT. And of course, if they've only just started using it as well, it doesn't even sound like them anymore.
Yeah.
And then there's the cut and paste with the dots, the dashes, and all the other stuff in it. And you're like,
Oh.
"Oh."
And M dashes and words like navigate and into today's world, it's irritating, because I said them words and used them dashes before ChatGPT was doing it. So now I'm stopping thinking, I don't want people thinking that I'm ChatGPTing, like to write this or whatever, but I was doing it before, so that's really annoying. So I'm almost now trying to stay ahead of the trends and the language model and stuff that ChatGPT is using to make sure that I don't do it. Just out of like stubbornness, I think.
It does have in my mind, it does have a place. We need to get to a place where it's complementary. It supports us for those clearly those tasks that were mundane, and in my world as a coach, it can speed up things quite quickly, because maybe I can just jot down some thoughts on into AI, and it can just give me some structure that I might need to just keep my notes, etc. So there are some really good uses for it. But I think we are like kids in sweet shops, and I think people have started to adopt it, and then they've thought, right, okay, well, that's great, it's doing my job for me. But I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. How many people now are paying attention in meetings? How many people are actually just getting AI to do their notes, then their actions, and then answering the actions? And so are we just in this massive email trail now with our clients, which basically is AI wrote that email, AI answered that email, AI then answered that email, and does anybody actually know what the problem was and how they actually solved it? Because it's just like the AI is talking to the AI now, and the human element is completely out of it. And I worry, because a massive part of being human is communication. Like, we surely can't risk losing the art of communication. A robot doesn't know how I'm feeling today, or be, some people might now be using it as their counselor. But of course, AI is starting to understand who you are as well. So I fear that it might be giving you the answer that you want, but that's probably another story. But I think, AI doesn't know how I'm feeling today. It really doesn't ask me that, is everything all right at home? That, it's not, you can't replace the actual human connection of asking somebody how they are today, or what's going on in their world. So
it's the whites of the eyes bit, and like the empathy, and like the knowing that somebody is actively listening to how you are today before then responding and connecting with you in that response. If AI says, "How are you today?" You're just like, "Oh, well, you're programmed to do that. I'm fine, thanks. Next." Yeah, there's all these things, all these conversations around how people keep saying please to ChatGPT. And it's like, it's quite funny because obviously there's the human thing of, you learn manners from quite a young age. Therefore, you're asking something to do something. Maybe actually please is the right thing to do. But it is having a repercussion on things like, the energy that it's just consuming with people even just asking please. I read something the other day, actually, really interesting. So it was the difference between ChatGPT, the adoption, and then electricity. So I feel like, as a 36-year-old, I've always had electric, I think. Yeah, I would have, clearly. Yeah. So as a
Did
36-year-old,
you actually question that?
as a 36-year-old, always have electric, right? So
Can I just say I'm
yeah,
47, so I'm not sure if they had it when I was little.
exactly. I'm like, God, maybe. But it took 16 years for people to adopt electricity. Okay, for 1 million people to use electricity. It took ChatGPT 5 days.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And like when you read stuff like that, the adoption of it has been obviously really, really fast. And yes, it's because a lot of people, I guess, are working out how to use it whilst using it. So a shout out actually to Louis Cantor Castro. I think I might have just absolutely punched his name, but he'll forgive me. Okay. Louis is awesome, right? But I met him about a year and a half ago, actually. 2 years now. And we were talking about the use of ChatGPT kind of like when it all came out. And he said, "Oh, I've spent it was something like 19 hours training my ChatGPT, and I've done something like 300 learning hours." It was some crazy numbers. And I was like, "What, don't you just ask the question?" And obviously then I got into a really kind of deep dive of like the value of the prompt, knowing your brain. And for Louis, it massively changes how he has his day and how he writes things and how he works. And he's put the effort in up front to train the model to be a little bit like him. Now, this is for me where that human machine bit comes in. Let's say I had a challenge and I thought, right, okay, Louis would be the perfect person to come and help me with that challenge. If I had Louis there or ChatGPT there, which one would I rather go to? Which one would I trust? 10 times out of 10, I would absolutely go to Louis, right? Because actually, I know that we'd have a great conversation aside from sorting out the problem. We'd have a laugh. I'd rinse him a little bit because he's a Man United fan and I just think that's funny. And I'd comment on his trainers because he loves trainers, right? So I know that actually connecting with Louis, it's not about just getting that problem solved. I would have a human to human conversation with Louis.
Yeah.
So are we at risk of losing that from society? And is that seriously what anybody needs?
I have an interesting story as well, actually. So I work with a client who actually is deaf, and she explained to me, it's really interesting. She explained to me that at some points, she had struggled to write executive summaries, and some of the barrier to that was the way that deaf people learn words is that there's very few words for objects. We might say a spade is a spade, and then we might say it's a shovel, etc. But there is only generally one word, I'm led to believe. So when she was writing executive summaries, she was really struggling with how do I find all of the different words that I need to, to make this more, to almost make this a higher level executive summary, which describes everything that I need. ChatGPT was transformational because she was easily able to say, look, this is what I need to get out of this. This is what I need to say, but can you write it in such a way that it creates an executive summary? That was for me like a brilliant use of AI to support somebody to do a job that they need to do. That, but if we're talking about every email that's coming in from a client with a response that's written by AI, with then a further response that's written by AI, that isn't it for me. And So how do we find the bit that's really, really useful and make sure we capture that? And how do we then say, actually, to use it all of the time for everything isn't the answer?
Yeah. I think it goes back to the human needs. And if you take the human needs and then you take our day-to-day world, how can AI help us? It's great to automate things. It's great to take that mundane rubbish. It's great to, I remember when we were kind of like trying to put our mission, vision, values into actual sense, and we had both ideas, and we were like, right, okay, now let's just put it through and get the wording right. That was great because we could have sat there and like done that for another couple of hours easily. So actually, it was great to just cut through and go, yeah, we like that, we don't like that bit. Okay, let's now pudge it together and we'll make it work for us. And I think, so that on the day-to-day layman's basic use of AI, yeah, automation, absolutely. The bit that really terrifies me is when people start talking about, in fact, it's a great example, right? I was driving back from Wembley a few weeks back after Oldham got promoted. Just thought I'd get that in there, right? Getting back from Wembley, and I came through Milton Keynes, and I thought that I was over the limit or something all of a sudden because I looked left and there was a robot on the pavement driving up pavement. Okay, and I looked and then I was like, I'm not drunk. Like, what is going on here? And I went around the roundabout and I carried on driving. And as I was going through Milton Keynes for like a good 25 minutes, I saw about 4 or 5 of these robots just driving along. And I was like, what's going on? So obviously, when I got home and Googled it, basically they're using them to do deliveries. So they've got like the trialing the use of.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got like traffic lights, and a car was coming down the road, and the robot saw the car, stopped, car went, robot went, and I was like, oh my geez, this is okay. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I mean, that's amazing, firstly, because let's face it, I'm really sick of my own parcels ending up in my bullying bin. I don't know why these delivery drivers keep doing this. Why?
You know what, right? Along the same lines, I live in the Northeast. Our Amazon is testing drones. We're going to be the drone test hotbed. I'm not sure about this.
No, I'm not.
I'm just not sure. Am I going to be dive bombing like drones every 2 minutes that, while it's basically hovering above my head, about to drop a parcel,
So, I'll admit this, right? Because I think it's actually really funny. I've not actually told anyone this story yet, but I was driving the other day, and I got stuck at some traffic lights, and as I was at traffic lights, this drone went like right close to my windscreen of my car, and I was like, what the hell? And it was like, I felt like people looking at me. So in true my style, I just stuck the fingers up at it, and it went off. And obviously, afterwards, I thought, I've just got this vision now of me getting in trouble for like swearing at a drone or something. But I was a bit like, who is flying that around and why? And as I went down the road, there was just this random guy with a remote in his hand, and I don't know what he was doing, but he was obviously flying this drone. And I was like, they do need licenses, they shouldn't be in public spaces. But yeah, are we going to be like in this world where there's like really futuristic of like flying cars, drones going around our heads, and I'm like, I don't need this in my life.
Where this about 2 years ago, Christmas, my eldest son bought me a present. It's probably one of the best things I've ever been bought. I opened the box, and there was one of those robotic hoovers with 2 googly eyes on it and a sticker with its name, Optimus Grime. Optimus Grime has been one of the best things I've ever owned. That robot hoover, honestly, is the best thing. I mean, I'm good with this. If you want to replace me running around the house with a vacuum that does it all itself and then docks itself and empties itself, I'm all over that.
Yeah.
Useful, for me, that is a great use of technology to do that while I'm doing something else, because I don't want to be doing it. But it just goes back to what's it, when is it enough or too much? I remember years ago, like, it was all about productivity. You know, it was almost like the newfangled thing was going to be productivity. So everybody's going to work to these productivity tools. We're going to measure everything. We're going to know exactly how long it takes you to do this. And it was just all in. And then over time, we suddenly realized we're not mules. We're not productive. You know, we can't use it all the time. It has to be some human elements to it as well. You can't, like, you know, everybody's different. So they work at different speeds, and you can see how we've transitioned and we're moving out of that now. Is it sort of going to be the same with, if we go back to AI adoption, is it going to be, we're going to go all in and then we're going to go, actually, sugar, shit, we've gone all in. Maybe we need to redress the balance a little bit, and we need to become back to our human selves to continue that communication, or to relearn our communication skills that we've lost. And is that why we said at the beginning, we were ahead of the curve? Because what we want to do, or what we want to talk about really, is how do we adopt AI, and how are we, you know, how does that look in the workplace and for us in our businesses? But how do we still ensure the human element exists? Which is why me and you, you know, we're all about that, like, delivery and human. Having those conversations, tough conversations, good conversations, whatever they may be. You can use it complementary, but it can't replace everything.
Yeah, exactly. The worry is, I guess, is that once the box is open, putting AI back in the box and like rewinding, that's going to be a challenge, because there's people like, so Elon Musk said something along the lines of, AI is like awakening the devil. So, I mean, when you get people like him saying that, that's a little bit concerning. You've got the guy from Google that just said, like, this needs a lot of legislation around it, otherwise this is going to be hell. You've got Zuckerberg and Bill Gates saying this could level up massive things. It could be massive positive, but it needs guidelines, parameters. So it feels like everyone's being quite cautious, and in like the people that are kind of going, yeah, we need to be cautious. But then at the same time, it does feel like hell has just opened up, because then there's all the horror stories, and there's all these like doom stories of like AI's taking over. And if you scroll too much on LinkedIn, you'll find a story at least how you're just going to get lost to an AI, like a powered robot at some point.
I mean, I did listen to somebody do a really good panel recently, and they were talking about AI, and actually they were saying that the AI that we think of as AI today isn't really the AI that we are. Is the future, because actually what we've got right now is data. It's not AI, it's data. All that's happening when we go into ChatGPT or the others is we're asking it to filter through lots of data to give us an answer. Incidentally, we don't know if that answer is correct or not. And the worry for me has always been, what happens when we start to believe what comes out of AI, the data, because it started to say this is fact, not fiction, but is it fact or is it fiction? So it's just data sets that are coming out. That's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the technology that we maybe haven't seen yet, or the future that is slightly scarier. This right now isn't AI.
Yeah. No,
it's not thinking for itself. It's just it's just going through lots and lots of data really, really quickly. And we know, I mean, when we talk about energy, some of the stats that we've seen are terrifying. You know, those data centers, that water that it needs, that energy that it needs, the please and thank you on the and I'm one of them people that sometimes says thanks as well. I can't help it. You know, what is that? You know, is the energy usage, when we're trying to live in a sustainable world, does it even?
It's just it is scary if you think too much about it, I guess. It's I think from our point of view, there was something the other day, and it was authors beware, and I was like, oh, here we go, what's happening now? And like, it caught my attention, and it was basically ChatGPT is misquoting you, try it yourself. So I did. I went and asked Chat some questions, and it threw out this thing and said, Simone says this, and I was like, absolutely never said that in my life, and never would try that. And it was actually a bit like, okay, interesting. And I just thought, like, how many times are people being misquoted? And actually, I uncovered what had happened. And basically, it was an article that I'd wrote. had a backlink on somebody else's article. And because the backlink happened, when chat had gone through it, it obviously saw that I wrote that article, but not seeing that there was a backlink somewhere. And then basically it was quoting the person whose article was backlinks. So, and he was quoted as me. And I was like, oh, hang on a minute. So actually, when I then said to ChatGPT, I said, that's not correct. It's a backlink. He was like, oh, sorry. And you're like, but
Yeah.
that's terrifying, because how much are people trusting that information?
Yeah, and it's, I mean, if you have a subject that you're not you're not an authority on, you go into ChatGPT right now or one of the others, and you're going to go, right, okay, tell me about the subject. You're going to read it and you're going to go, right, okay, this is the new Encyclopedia Britannica from when I was a kid. God, do you remember? I don't know if you will, because I am older than you, but the hundreds of books that, used to adorn the shelves at home, and that was the only way that you could get like real information, because actually everything else you were taught was just probably Chinese whispers from other places that you didn't know if it was true or not. But we're in the same situation, somebody feeds something into ChatGPT, you ask it gives you an answer. You're not an authority of it. Do you believe what you're given as the answer is the answer? And when does it start? Where does it start, stop? So I suppose the burning question that we asked at the beginning of this was, human or machines? What's the answer?
And do you know what? In true GPT style, right, I'm asking it right now. Right, because I think this is fascinating. So I just first asked, will AI take over the world? Thought, right, I'll go for it. So it says, a Hollywood version, no, we're nowhere near taking over the world. Current AI is basically fancy past matching data, as we said.
Data.
It can write an essay, draw a picture, help you plan your holiday, but it doesn't want anything. It has no consciousness, no goals, no secret plan. Not sure if I quite trust that, but I think the people that are building it, they're the one with the consciousness, the goals, and the secret plan. That's the worry for me.
Yeah.
The realistic version.
So actually, it's a human. It's a human that is the worry. It's not the AI. It's the human that's the worry. The human behind the AI.
Because it's a language learning model, So the LLM, it's being trained by humans. It's when it gets to a point of thinking for itself that we need to worry. Like iRobot, that film is terrifying. But yeah, basically the realistic version is it already is taking over the world. It's automating tasks that humans need to do, that used to do manually. It's changing whole industries like customer service, content creation, logistics, and finance. Interesting. And it's giving massive power to whoever controls it. Big tech, big governments. So AI taking over certain functions is happening, but it's humans deciding how to use it. That's interesting. The irony is that we asked AI to answer that for us.
So I suppose the question for the listeners of this podcast is, are we going to lead like humans or manage like machines?
Yeah. Humans feel, we've got dreams, we mess up spectacularly, we make things, we break things, we've got
empathy and compassion.
We've got compassion, empathy, we get bored. We need rest. Machines don't need rest. Plugging in maybe power. They don't sleep. They don't forget things. They don't care because they've not got a consciousness. They're there to optimize, not to understand. It's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like there's probably another podcast in this at some point down the road. Maybe with somebody who knows more about the future of AI.
Yeah, I might get Anthony Slumbers on to talk about AI. I'm gonna reach out to him, and he can scare us all with talk of AI from an informed voice rather than our talking out loud.
Our jamminess, because this is the whole thing, isn't it? It's about just having normal conversations about the things that are concerning us, that the sticky stuff in the workplace. And that's what really this should be all about. It's that sticky stuff that I'm not really sure about that. And then I guess as well throughout, if this podcast goes on further than today, there's going to be some controversial comments, opinions, because I know that I don't agree with you on everything, and you don't agree with me on everything.
Yeah. But then that is, for me, that is exactly why we should work together.
Like that. No.
Got to keep sweet listeners on.
Okay. Kind of got everything.
If you've got too many voices that are the same, maybe it's another podcast altogether. If you've got too many voices that are the same, there's no diversity of thought.
Yeah, no. And I've seen that a lot, and it is a whole new podcast, because actually, you know, what happens when you've got a workplace that's just made of all of the same personality types with all of the same behavioural styles? Like, what do you get then? You get a lot of the same.
You might as well be a robot, aren't you? That's the point, innit? You might as well go full circle. You're back to being like a machine, aren't you? And you know, them workplaces, you know, I wrote a post about it this morning, them workplaces that are like, we're a family here. Blech. It's like they almost need like live, laugh, love, like on the behind them next to, we're a family. And it's a bit like, I've just offended everybody that has got that sign now from Home Bargains. Sorry, guys.
Do you know what's really funny about that? My husband says this all the time. He's like, do not dare put live, life, love on the wall anywhere in this house. Yeah.
My second favourite one, right, apart from them signs, one that like just says bath. Bath. Like, you know the sign you said
telling.
bath. What are we doing? Oh jeez. And that was a wrap. Now, of course, we are fully aware that at times that was a little bit silly, but we hope that you laughed along. It was meant to be a very human conversation about sticky subjects. That's the whole point of a workplace jam. In the following episodes, we're of course going to have some guests join us. So if you'd like to put yourself forward, you'd like to put somebody else forward, drop us a message with your sticky subject, and let's see who can get you on. Until then, be a good human.